Summary of Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix by J.K. Rowling. After a month of not hearing from anyone in the wizarding world, Harry and his cousin Dudley are attacked by two Dementors in an alleyway at the start of August. Harry finds out that his neighbor, Mrs. Fig, is a squib, a person who was born into a magical family but can't use magic, and that Dumbledore has been having people watch him. Uncle Vernon and Aunt Petunia try to get Harry to leave, but he gets a letter telling him he has to go to a hearing. When Petunia gets a howler, which is an angry, threatening letter with a secret message, she tells Harry he has to stay. 3 days later, a dozen witches and wizards come to save him. Among them are Mad-Eye Moody and Remus Lupin. Together, they fly to London's Grimmauld Place, number 12. There, when Harry sees Hermione and Ron again, he yells at them about feeling left out. Hermione and Ron say that Dumbledore made them promise not to tell, but they don't know much. Harry is then told what happened by Sirius and Mr. Weasley. They tell him they are trying to get the word out that Voldemort is back and that he is looking for a weapon. Harry helps clean the house that Sirius's parents used to live in for the next week. The Blacks thought Voldemort was right about what he said, and Kreacher, their old house elf, says rude things to himself. Harry goes to the Ministry of Magic with Mr. Weasley the morning of his hearing. There, he finds out that the place and time of his hearing have changed, and he's already late. Even though Dumbledore saves Harry from being expelled or worse, he can tell that his trial in front of the full Wisengamot, the High Court, was set up to make him look bad. Harry spends most of the rest of his summer cleaning, so it's not very exciting. Ron and Hermione are made prefects, and Harry does his best to enjoy Ron's success. Things are very different back at Hogwarts. Harry is shocked to see that the horseless carriages are now being pulled by strange scaly horses. A girl named Luna tells Harry that the creatures have always been there. Hagrid is gone, the Sorting Hat sings a warning, and Dolores Umbridge, the new professor of defense against the dark arts, says something at the feast that makes it sound like Fudge, the Minister of Magic, is meddling at Hogwarts. Harry's first day at school goes wrong. Umbridge tells her class that they don't need to use defensive magic, they can just read the theory about it, and when Harry argues that Voldemort is back, she gives him a week of detention. In this detention, Harry has to write "I must not tell lies" every night for a week with a quill that cuts into his hand and uses his blood to write. When Umbridge takes Harry's hand on Friday night to look at his wound, Harry's scar burns and he has an odd feeling in his stomach. The next morning, Harry writes a letter to Sirius and talks to Cho Chang in the Ullery at school. Ron becomes the new keeper for the Gryffindor Quidditch team. He isn't a good player, and to make matters worse, Percy sends him a letter telling him to stop hanging out with Harry. Over the summer, Percy turned his back on his family, and now he wants Ron to promise to be loyal to the Ministry. One night, a picture of Sirius's head shows up in the fireplace in the common room. He tells Harry, Hermione, and Ron that Umbridge won't teach real magic because Fudge is afraid that Dumbledore will turn his students into an army that will take over the Ministry. Harry's second week is almost as bad as the first. Umbridge becomes the Hogwarts High Inquisitor, which gives her the power to hire and fire people, and he spends another week in detention with her. At the end of the week, Hermione suggests that Harry teach defense against the dark arts to the other students, but this makes Harry angry. After 2 weeks, Harry agrees to talk to students in Hogsmeade who are interested. There are 25 people there. Umbridge seems to be reacting to this by making a rule on Monday that ends all clubs and groups. The group in charge of defense agrees to meet anyway. Umbridge also broke up the Gryffindor Quidditch team, and they can't get back together without McGonagall's support. That weekend, Sirius talks to the three again through the fireplace to let them know he backs their secret group. When he sees Umbridge's hand moving around in the fireplace, he cuts off their talk. The Gryffindor Quidditch team keeps doing a terrible job. One night after practice, Harry's scar starts to burn again, and he has no idea why. He tells Ron that Voldemort is angry, but he doesn't know how he knows that. That night, Dobby meets Harry in the common room and suggests that Harry's group practice in the Room of Requirement, which turns into whatever a person needs. Later that week, Harry starts teaching his friends simple magic. They decide to call themselves the DA, which stands for Dumbledore's Army. The first Quidditch match is the following weekend. Gryffindor wins, but Harry and George beat up Malfoy when he insults their parents. As a punishment, Umbridge forbids Harry, George, and Fred from playing again. Later that night, Harry, Ron, and Hermione find out that Hagrid is at home and go to see him. He is hurt and bleeding, but he tells them that he tried to meet the giants but couldn't. Umbridge jumps in and wants to know where Hagrid was, but he won't tell her. Hagrid's first Care of Magical Creatures lesson is about Thestrals, which Harry learns are the scaly horses that pull the carts. They can only be seen by people who have died. Umbridge checks out Hagrid's lesson and acts like Hagrid can't understand English. Harry keeps teaching at DA groups right up until just before Christmas. Cho kisses Harry at their last meeting, but she also cries about Cedric Diggory. That night, Harry has a nightmare in which he is a snake and strikes Mr. Weasley. Harry screams and is in pain when he wakes up. McGonagall takes him and Ron to Dumbledore's office, where Dumbledore takes Harry seriously but still won't look at him. At one point, he looks at Harry and makes him want to strike. Harry and all of the Weasleys are then sent to Grimmauld Place by Dumbledore. Sirius, Harry, and the Weasleys stay up until Mrs. Weasley comes in and tells them that Mr. Weasley will live, even though he was attacked by a giant snake. Harry tells Sirius in secret that he felt like the snake, but Sirius tells Harry to go to bed. Harry only acts like he's taking a nap, and then he goes with the others to see Mr. Weasley. Fred and George use extendable ears to listen in on the adults when they are alone in a room. Harry hears that Voldemort might be in him, and he feels dirty and infected until Ginny tells him that she's been possessed, and Harry's feelings don't match hers. At the end of the holidays, Snape comes to see Harry and tells him that Dumbledore has asked him to teach Harry occlumency, which is the skill of closing one's mind to the invasion of another. During Harry's first occlumency lesson, he learns that Dumbledore wants him to stop having dreams about a hallway and seeing Voldemort's feelings. As Snape tries to get into Harry's thoughts, the lesson is terrible. Harry finds out that the hallway he dreams about is in the Ministry of Magic's Department of Mysteries. Hermione gets a letter on Valentine's Day that asks Harry to meet her in Hogsmeade. Harry should be with Cho, but he agrees to go with Cho. His date doesn't go well, especially after he says he needs to meet Hermione. When he meets Hermione, she is with Rita Skeeter and Luna. Hermione asks Rita to talk to Harry and write a piece telling the truth about him, which Luna's father, the editor of the magazine The Quibbler, has agreed to print. A few weeks later, when the magazine comes out, Umbridge is angry and bans it. That night, Harry has a dream that he is Voldemort and is talking to someone about taking the weapon out of the Department of Mysteries. Trelawney gets fired by Umbridge, but Dumbledore replaces her with a horse named Firenze. Dobby tells the group at the next DA meeting that Umbridge has found out what they have been doing. Umbridge drags Harry to Dumbledore's office, where Dumbledore claims that the group was his idea. He gets away from Fudge and a few Aurors by mysteriously leaving, and Umbridge takes over as headmistress. After that, Fred and George start to cause trouble at school. Malfoy calls Snape one night while Harry is in his occlumency class. Harry decides to look through the memories that Snape kept in a pensieve. He finds a memory of young Snape being teased by James Potter. Adult Snape sees Harry doing this and gets so angry that he stops their classes. A week later, Fred and George set up a movable pond to keep Umbridge busy so Harry can talk to Sirius and Lupin about what he saw using the fireplace in Umbridge's office. They tell Harry that James has grown up and improved himself since the time Harry saw him in the pensieve. When Umbridge finds Fred and George, they run out of school in a big way. Hagrid pulls Hermione and Harry away from the last Quidditch game of the season and takes them into the forest. There, he shows them his giant half-brother, Grop. Harry also finds out that the Centaurs are mad that Firenze works for Dumbledore, which means that the forest is no longer safe. The fifth-year kids' OWLs start the following week. The students watch Umbridge and a few Aurors try to arrest Hagrid while they are taking their practice astronomy test. McGonagall gets hurt by the Aurors, while Hagrid tries to get away. The next day, Harry falls asleep during his History of Magic test and has a dream that Voldemort has Sirius in the Department of Mysteries. He says that they must go right away to save Sirius. Hermione, Ron, Luna, and Ginny help make a distraction so that Harry can check to see if Sirius is home, but Kreacher tells Harry that Sirius is in the Department of Mysteries. Umbridge sees Harry using the fireplace in her office, but Hermione tricks her into going with them into the woods to look for a weapon that doesn't exist. The angry centaurs take Umbridge away and try to hurt Harry and Hermione, but Grawp scatters the centaurs. Harry and Hermione run into Luna, Ginny, and Neville in the woods. Luna suggests they ride Thestrals to the Ministry of Magic. In real life, the Department of Mysteries is even more confused than in Harry's dream, but he eventually shows his friends where he saw Sirius. Harry doesn't see Sirius, but he does find a small glass globe with his name written on it. When he picks it up, Lucius Malfoy and other Death Eaters show up and ask for the prophecy. In the next battle, Harry and his friends are able to get away from the Death Eaters. Sirius and the rest of the Order of the Phoenix come to save the day, but Neville drops the prophecy, which breaks it. Just as Dumbledore gets there, Bellatrix Lestrange curses Sirius, causing him to fall through a mystery doorway and die. Bellatrix runs away, and Harry follows her into the courtyard and hides behind the Fountain of Magical Brethren. When Voldemort comes, he and Dumbledore fight. Voldemort tries to take control of Harry, but Harry stays alive. Fudge finally sees Voldemort in person when he gets there, just as Voldemort and the Death Eaters are getting away. Harry is sent back to Hogwarts by Dumbledore, and when he comes back, Harry has to listen to him. He says that Sirius's death is his fault because he didn't tell Harry everything. Because Harry didn't know everything, Voldemort tricked him by making him dream that Sirius was being tortured. This is why Dumbledore wanted Harry to learn occlumency. He didn't want Voldemort to take advantage of their strange mental link. Dumbledore also tells Harry something he says he should have told him a long time ago. Voldemort tried to kill Harry when he was a baby because of a prophecy that said either Voldemort or Harry would have to kill the other. Neither can live while the other survives, the scripture says. Harry spends the last week of school feeling sad and thinking about what he's learned. When he gets to King's Cross, several members of the Order of the Phoenix warn his Uncle Vernon that there will be consequences if he keeps mistreating Harry.
About the author. Rowling was born in 1965 in Yate, Gloucestershire to a middle-class family. Her parents were Anne and Peter James Rowling. She was the first of 2 children, and she said that she was a very sad teen. Her mother had multiple sclerosis, and her relationship with her father was tense. She got her degree from the University of Exeter in 1986. After that, she worked in London as a writer and a secretary. In 1990, she came up with the idea for the first Harry Potter book and started writing it right away. In December of that year, Rowling's mother died, and she put a lot of her sadness into the book. Rowling got married, had her first daughter, got separated, and signed up for welfare payments over the next few years. She finished writing Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone in 1995, and when it came out in 1997, Rowling's popularity started to grow. Rowling was able to buy a flat in Edinburgh with the money from the US sale for the publishing rights. She then spent the next 10 years writing and releasing the next 6 books in the series. In 2001, she remarried and had 2 more children. In 2004, she became the first person to become a billionaire by writing books. She co-founded the charity Lumos and established the Volant Charitable Trust, named after her mother. She has written a number of crime books under the name Robert Galbraith, and she has also written scripts for the Fantastic Beasts movies.
Hope we summarized it fully and you liked it. Please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel so that we are motivated to create more videos.